just a moment, that you're standing before something that defies every law of science you've ever known. Picture this: a body that has remained perfectly preserved for over 140 years, untouched by decay, untouched by time itself. Now, Pope Leo XIV has just made a declaration that's sending shockwaves through the Catholic world and beyond. He's officially exposed the miraculous state of Saint Bernadette's incorrupt body, and millions of faithful souls are claiming miracles like never before. Science remains silent because science simply cannot explain what you're about to discover. What I'm about to share with you will touch the deepest corners of your heart, and perhaps awaken something sacred within your soul that you thought was lost forever. This isn't just another story, my dear friend. This is about divine intervention in our modern world, about hope when hope seems impossible, and about a humble French girl whose body continues to bear witness to God's infinite power. Pope Leo XIV, born Robert Francis Prevost in Chicago, now leads 1.4 billion Catholics worldwide. At 69 years old, this remarkable man has done something unprecedented. He has publicly acknowledged what medical science cannot explain, and what skeptics refuse to accept. The body of Saint Bernadette Soubirous remains as fresh and untouched as the day she passed away in 1879. Perhaps you've heard whispers of this miracle before. Maybe you've wondered if such things could truly happen in our skeptical age. Well, let me take you on a journey that will answer those questions and fill your heart with wonder. Before we go deeper into this extraordinary revelation, I want you to do something special for me. If this story is already stirring something within your heart, please hit that like button right now, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from, and what you think about miracles in our modern world. I read every single comment, and your faith stories inspire me more than you know. Let me paint you a picture of 1858 in Lourdes, France. Imagine a 14-year-old girl, so poor that her family lived in a single damp room that used to be a jail cell. Bernadette Soubirous couldn't read or write. She suffered from asthma and had barely survived cholera. She was, by every worldly measure, insignificant. Yet, this precious child was chosen by the Virgin Mary herself for something extraordinary. On February 11, 1858, while gathering firewood near a grotto, Bernadette saw a beautiful lady dressed in white and blue. This lady, who would later identify herself as the Immaculate Conception, appeared to Bernadette 18 times. Can you imagine the courage it took for this simple, uneducated girl to stand before authorities, townspeople, and skeptics, insisting on what she had seen? The local officials threatened to throw her in prison. They interrogated her repeatedly, trying to make her change her story. But Bernadette never wavered. Her consistency, her peace, her unwavering certainty eventually convinced even the most hardened skeptics. In 1862, the Catholic Church officially declared her visions as worthy of belief. But here's where the story becomes even more incredible. During these apparitions, the Virgin Mary told Bernadette to dig in the ground near the grotto. When she did, a spring of water began to flow. This wasn't just any water, my friend. This was water that would heal the sick, restore sight to the blind, and bring hope to the hopeless. Even during her lifetime, Bernadette was an instrument of God's healing power. There was a newborn baby, dying of tuberculosis, with no hope of survival. Bernadette had embroidered a small piece of clothing. When this garment was placed on the dying infant, the child was completely healed. Another time, a little girl who couldn't walk was brought to Bernadette. Against the orders of her superiors, Bernadette gently placed the child on the ground. That little girl immediately began running and playing, completely cured. And then there was the miracle of the candle. During one of the apparitions, Bernadette was holding a lit candle. The flame suddenly engulfed her entire hand for 15 minutes. Witnesses watched in amazement as the fire danced around her fingers. Yet when it was over, there wasn't even a mark on her skin. Not a single burn, not even a redness. The hand that had been touched by divine fire remained perfect and unharmed. Bernadette lived only 35 years. She spent her final years in a convent, suffering from tuberculosis, offering her pain as a sacrifice for souls. When she died on April 16, 1879, something remarkable happened. Her body was buried in a simple grave, but it would not remain hidden for long. In 1909, 30 years after her death, church officials decided to exhume her body as part of the beatification process. What they found defied all natural explanation. Dr. David and Dr. Jordan, two respected physicians, examined her remains. They expected to find bones, perhaps some remnants of clothing. Instead, they discovered a body that looked as though it had been buried just days before. Her skin was supple and soft. Her muscles were intact. Even her fingernails were perfectly preserved. There was no odor of decay, no sign of decomposition. The doctors were stunned. This was not natural. This was not explainable by any medical knowledge they possessed. And Comte conducted another thorough examination. Once again, they found the same miraculous preservation. Her body was displayed in a crystal casket in the chapel of the convent of Saint-Gildard in Nevers, France. Thousands upon thousands of pilgrims have knelt before this miracle, witnessing with their in the comments. Tell me an ordinary miracle. Me to Lourdes, France. The mental or the incorrupt back in my corner to your heart transcends time. Her body, preserved by divine power, continued to accomplish his greatest through Saint Bernadette's intercession. Are not, before you go, the same God who chose joining me on this